useless thing!
Those were the words that shattered my world on what was supposed to be the best day of my life. I'm Naomi, and this is my story. A story about how one woman's jealousy almost destroyed me, but ended up revealing secrets that nobody saw coming. In this explosive tale, you'll discover how standing up for what's right can cost you everything, but sometimes it's worth it. If you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on your notifications so you'll be the first to know when more incredible stories drop. And please, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I really want to see my viewers from all over the world. Are you watching from New York, California, maybe Canada or Australia? Let me know in the comments. Now, let's get into this story. Let me take you back to where it all started. It was a Thursday morning in Beverly Hills, California. The sun was shining bright, the birds were singing, and I had just finished scrubbing the marble floors of the Whitmore mansion for the third time that week. My knees hurt, my back was sore, but I didn't complain. I never complained. That's not who I was raised to be. My name is Naomi Taylor, I'm 24 years old, and I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I moved to Los Angeles 3 years ago looking for a better life, and I ended up working as a live-in maid for one of the richest families in Beverly Hills. The Whitmores. Marcus Whitmore to be exact. He was a tech billionaire, 42 years old, self-made, and one of the kindest men I'd ever met. His wife, Clarissa, on the other hand, was a completely different story. That morning, I was in the kitchen preparing breakfast when I heard Mr. Whitmore's voice calling from the driveway. "Naomi, can you come here for a minute?" My heart jumped a little. Mr. Whitmore rarely called me outside. I quickly wiped my hands on my apron and headed toward the front door. When I stepped outside, I saw him standing next to his silver Mercedes, looking relaxed in his casual jeans and polo shirt. The California sun made everything look like a movie scene. "Yes, Mr. Whitmore," I said softly, keeping my distance like I always did. I'd learned early on to never get too comfortable, never stand too close, never give anyone a reason to accuse me of anything inappropriate. He smiled at me, and it was a genuine smile. The kind that reached his eyes. "Naomi, I'm heading to Rodeo Drive to pick up a few things. I thought you might want to come along. You've been working non-stop for months without a break, and I figured you could use a day out. Maybe grab some new clothes or shoes or whatever you need." My treat. I froze. I literally couldn't move. My mind was trying to process what he'd just said. Did he really just invite me to go shopping with him? On Rodeo Drive? One of the most expensive shopping streets in the world. "Sir," I stammered. "You want to take me shopping?" "Yes," he said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "You deserve it, Naomi. You work harder than anyone in this house, and you never complain. Consider it a thank you for everything you do." My eyes filled with tears. I couldn't help it. I'd been working since I was 16 years old, cleaning houses, babysitting, doing whatever I could to survive. Nobody had ever offered to do something like this for me. Nobody. "Mr. Whitmore, I don't know what to say. Thank you. Thank you so much." My voice cracked with emotion. "Go grab your purse," he said with a warm smile. "We'll leave in 5 minutes." I turned around and practically ran back into the house, my heart pounding with excitement. I rushed to my small room at the back of the mansion, grabbed my worn-out purse, and checked myself in the mirror. I was wearing my usual grey uniform, my hair pulled back in a simple bun, no makeup. I looked like what I was, a maid. But for once, I didn't care. Someone had seen me. Someone had valued my hard work. I headed back toward the front door, clutching my purse tightly. But as I stepped into the grand foyer with its crystal chandelier and marble floors, I heard footsteps on the staircase. Sharp, angry footsteps. I looked up and saw her. Clarissa Whitmore. She was standing at the top of the grand staircase like some kind of queen, her blonde hair perfectly curled, her silk robe flowing behind her, her blue eyes cold as ice. And those eyes were locked directly on me. My stomach dropped. I knew that look. I'd seen it before. "Naomi." Her voice echoed through the foyer like a gunshot. I stopped in my tracks. Yes, Mrs. Whitmore. She started walking down the stairs, her heels clicking loudly against each step. The sound seemed to get louder and louder as she got closer. My heart was racing now, but not from excitement anymore. From fear. By the time I reached the front door, Mr. Whitmore was already opening the passenger door of the Mercedes for me. I put one hand on the door handle, ready to get in, when I heard her voice cut through the air. Naomi, where do you think you're going? I turned around slowly. Mrs. Whitmore was marching toward me, her face twisted with anger. Mr. Whitmore said. I don't care what he said. She grabbed my arm roughly and yanked me away from the car. Her nails dug into my skin. Get away from there, you shameless girl. I stumbled backward, shocked by her aggression. My purse fell from my hand and hit the ground. Clarissa. Mr. Whitmore stepped forward, his voice firm. What are you doing? But she ignored him completely. She shoved me hard in the chest, and I nearly fell. You think I don't see what you're trying to do? You think I'm stupid? Waiting for me to make one mistake so you can slide into my place in this house? Mrs. Whitmore, I would never. My voice was shaking. My whole body was shaking. Shut your mouth, she screamed in my face. Then she turned to her husband. And you? Are you out of your mind, Marcus? Taking the help shopping like she's your girlfriend? Mr. Whitmore's jaw tightened. I could see the muscles in his face working, trying to control his anger. She's not the help, Clarissa. Her name is Naomi. And I was just being kind. Something you clearly know nothing about. Kind. Clarissa laughed, but it was a bitter, ugly sound. Marcus, she's a maid. She cleans toilets. She doesn't ride around in your Mercedes like she's somebody. Those words hit me harder than her shove. Asterisk, she cleans toilets. She's not somebody. Asterisk. I felt the tears coming, and I hated myself for it. I didn't want to cry in front of them. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction. But I couldn't help it. The humiliation was too much. I bent down quickly, grabbed my purse from the ground, and hurried back inside the house. I could hear Mr. Whitmore calling after me, but I didn't stop. I just needed to get away. I needed to be alone. I rushed through the hallways, past the expensive paintings and the designer furniture, past the life I would never have, until I reached my small room at the back of the house. It wasn't much. Just a single bed, a small dresser, and a window that looked out onto the service alley. But it was mine. It was the only space in this entire mansion that belonged to me. I closed the door, locked it, and collapsed onto my bed. The tears came flooding out. I buried my face in my pillow and cried. I cried for the embarrassment. I cried for the injustice. I cried because no matter how hard I worked, no matter how respectful I was, people like Clarissa would always see me as less than. As nothing. I was still crying when I heard a soft knock on my door. Naomi. It was Mr. Whitmore's voice. I quickly sat up and wiped my face with my hands. Yes, sir. Can I come in? I stood up, smoothed down my uniform, and unlocked the door. When I opened it, Mr. Whitmore was standing there with a sad expression on his face. I'm so sorry about what just happened, he said gently. You didn't deserve that. None of it. I lowered my gaze. It's okay, sir. I'm used to it. No, he said firmly. It's not okay. And you shouldn't have to get used to being treated like that. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a white envelope. He held it out to me. What is this? I asked, confused. $5,000, he said. I want you to go shopping whenever you're ready. Buy yourself some new clothes, some shoes, whatever makes you happy. You've earned it, Naomi. You work harder than anyone in this house, and you never complain. This is the least I can do. I stared at the envelope, my hands trembling. $5,000. I'd never held that much money in my life. My entire monthly salary was only $2,000. Mr. Whitmore, this is too much. I can't accept this. Yes, you can, he said, pressing the envelope into my hands. And I won't take no for an answer. Don't let what happened out there ruin your day. You deserve good things, Naomi. He gave me a small, encouraging smile and walked away. I stood there holding the envelope, completely overwhelmed. I closed the door again and sat back down on my bed. With shaking hands, I opened the envelope and saw the stack of crisp $100 bills inside. I counted them twice to make sure I wasn't dreaming. 50 bills. $5,000. Tears streamed down my face again, but this time they were different. They were tears of gratitude. Tears of hope. I got down on my knees beside my bed and clasped my hands together. Thank you, God, I whispered. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for this blessing. Please help me use it wisely. I stayed there praying for a few minutes, thanking God for Mr. Whitmore's kindness, asking for strength to endure Mrs. Whitmore's cruelty, praying for peace in this house. But as I prayed with my eyes closed, I didn't hear my door creak open. I didn't see the shadow that fell across my floor. I didn't know that someone was watching me. So, this is what I thought. My eyes flew open. I jumped to my feet and spun around. Mrs. Whitmore was standing in my doorway, her arms crossed, her eyes fixed on the envelope lying on my bed. Mrs. Whitmore, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. Shut up, she said coldly. She stepped into my room without permission and walked straight to my bed. She picked up the envelope and looked inside. Her face twisted with rage. $5,000. So, you've been milking my husband, haven't you? No, I said desperately. He just gave it to me as a gift. I didn't ask for it. I swear I didn't ask for anything. She opened the envelope and dumped all the money onto my bed. The $100 bills scattered everywhere. You're not using my husband's money to play dress up and act like you're better than you are. Not while I'm alive. Please, Mrs. Whitmore. I dropped to my knees and started gathering the bills as fast as I could. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold them. Please. Your husband gave this to me. I didn't do anything wrong. Please. But she bent down quickly and snatched the money right out of my hands. The only thing you'll get from this house is your paycheck. Do you understand me? Nothing else. Not my husband's attention, not his money, nothing. She stuffed all the bills into the pocket of her silk robe and stood up, towering over me as I knelt on the floor. And if I ever catch you trying to manipulate my husband again, she said, her voice low and threatening, I will make your life a living hell. I will make sure you never work in this city again. Do you understand me, girl? The way she said girl made my skin crawl. There was something in her tone, something that reminded me of the stories my grandmother used to tell me about the old days. The way people used to talk to us. The way they still talk to us when they thought no one was listening. Yes, I whispered, still on my knees. She turned and walked out, slamming my door so hard that my small dresser shook. I stayed there on the floor, surrounded by the empty space where the money had been, and I cried. I cried until I had no tears left. That evening was dinner time. The Whitmores always ate in the formal dining room at exactly 7 o'clock. It was my job to serve the food and stand by the wall in case they needed anything. I had washed my face, fixed my uniform, and put on my mask. The mask I wore every day. The mask that said I was fine, that nothing bothered me, that I was just the maid doing her job. I brought out the roasted chicken, the garlic mashed potatoes, the steamed vegetables, and the expensive wine. I set everything on the table perfectly, just like I'd been taught. Then I took my position by the wall, hands clasped in front of me, eyes lowered. Mr. Whitmore was cutting his chicken when he looked up at me. Naomi, did you get a chance to do any shopping today? My stomach twisted into a knot. I swallowed hard. No, sir. He set down his knife and fork, frowning. Why not? I gave you money this morning. I could feel Mrs. Whitmore's eyes on me from across the table. I could feel the weight of her stare, warning me to be careful what I said. I don't have the money anymore, sir. Mr. Whitmore's frown deepened. What do you mean you don't have it? Did you lose it? My voice came out barely above a whisper. Mrs. Whitmore took it from me. The fork slipped from Mr. Whitmore's hand and clattered onto his plate. The sound echoed in the silent dining room. He stared at me for a long moment, like he was trying to process what I'd just said. Then he slowly turned his head to look at his wife. "Clarissa," he said quietly, but there was danger in his voice. "Did you take the money I gave Naomi?" Mrs. Whitmore didn't even flinch. She leaned back in her chair, picked up her wine glass, and took a slow sip. "Yes, I did. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat." Mr. Whitmore's face turned red. "That was a gift. A birthday gift. What gives you the right to steal from her?" "Birthday gift." Mrs. Whitmore laughed. "Marcus, she's a maid. Since when do you start throwing thousands of dollars at the help like they're your mistresses? She has a name." Mr. Whitmore slammed his hand down on the table so hard that all the dishes jumped. I flinched. "Her name is Naomi, and she works harder than anyone in this house. You had absolutely no right to take that money from her." Mrs. Whitmore stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Oh, so now you're her knight in shining armor. Marcus the generous savior. Maybe you should just marry her then, since you clearly care more about her feelings than mine. Don't you dare twist this." Mr. Whitmore stood up too, his voice rising. "I was showing basic human kindness. Something you clearly know nothing about. Do you know how cruel you've been to her? Do you have any idea?" I wanted to disappear. I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole. I shouldn't be hearing this. I shouldn't be in the middle of this. "Excuse me," I whispered, and I quickly slipped out of the dining room and into the kitchen. I pressed my back against the wall and tried to catch my breath. I could still hear their voices rising and falling, arguing about me. Suddenly, I heard a car horn from outside. Then I heard the front door open and a young, cheerful voice call out, "Dad, I'm here." The arguing stopped immediately. I peeked around the corner and saw a teenage girl with curly brown hair and bright, curious eyes standing in the foyer with a suitcase. She was wearing jeans and a cute top, and she had this energy about her that lit up the whole room. Mr. Whitmore's entire face changed. He rushed over to her. "Riley, sweetheart, what are you doing here?" She hugged him tightly. "Surprise. Mom said I could come stay with you for 2 weeks. I missed you, Dad." I realized this must be his daughter from his first marriage. I'd heard about her but never met her. She lived in Toronto with her mother. Mrs. Whitmore appeared in the hallway, her fake smile plastered on her face. "Welcome, Riley. We didn't know you were coming." Riley looked at her stepmother with a polite but distant expression. "Hi, Clarissa. Yeah, it was kind of last minute." Mr. Whitmore grabbed her suitcase. "Come on, let's get you settled in. Naomi." He called out for me. I stepped forward nervously. "Yes, sir." "Can you help Riley get settled in her room? Make sure she has fresh towels and everything she needs." "Of course, sir." Riley smiled at me warmly. "Hi. You must be Naomi. My dad talks about you all the time." I was surprised. "He does?" "Yeah, he says you're the reason this house doesn't fall apart." I felt my cheeks warm. "I just do my job, miss." "Call me Riley," she said, linking her arm through mine like we were friends. "Come on, show me where my room is." I liked her immediately. There was something genuine about her, something kind. She didn't look at me like I was beneath her. She looked at me like I was a person. I led her upstairs to the guest room that had been prepared for her whenever she visited. It was beautiful, with a queen-sized bed, a balcony overlooking the pool, and its own bathroom. As she started unpacking, she glanced at me. "Hey, Naomi, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Have you been crying? Your eyes look red." I quickly looked away. "No, I'm fine." "You're a terrible liar," Riley said gently. "Look, I don't know what's going on in this house, but I could feel the tension downstairs. And I saw the way Clarissa looked at you. What did she do?" I shook my head. "It's nothing, really. Don't worry about me." "My dad's a good person," Riley said firmly. "If something's wrong, you should tell him. He'll fix it." I smiled sadly. "Your dad is a wonderful person." But some things can't be fixed. Riley studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. But if you need anything, I'm here, okay? I mean it. Thank you, Riley. Downstairs, I could hear Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore still arguing. Mrs. Whitmore's voice was sharp and cutting. Mr. Whitmore's voice was controlled but angry. The house that had always been cold now felt like it was on fire. And I was standing right in the middle of the flames. Later that night, after I'd finished all my duties and cleaned the kitchen, I finally made it back to my room. I was exhausted. Not just physically, but emotionally. The day had been a roller coaster of hope and humiliation. I changed into my nightgown, sat on my bed, and pulled out my Bible. It was old and worn, the pages soft from being read so many times. It had been my grandmother's before she passed away and left it to me. Reading it always made me feel closer to her, closer to home. I opened it randomly and started reading, letting the words wash over me. But I couldn't focus. My mind kept replaying everything that had happened. Mrs. Whitmore's words. Her face. The way she'd snatched that money from my hands. She cleans toilets. She's not somebody. I closed the Bible and lay down, staring at the ceiling. I thought about Atlanta, about my mother and my little brother. I sent most of my paycheck home to help them. My mother was sick, and my brother was in community college. They were counting on me. I couldn't lose this job. No matter how much Mrs. Whitmore humiliated me, I couldn't afford to lose this job. I closed my eyes and whispered a prayer. God, please give me strength. Please help me endure. Please protect me. And as I drifted off to sleep, I had no idea that tomorrow would change everything. The next morning, I woke up early like always and started my routine. But something felt different. The house was quieter than usual. Too quiet. I went downstairs to start breakfast and found Riley already in the kitchen, pouring herself some orange juice. Good morning, she said cheerfully. Good morning, Riley. You're up early. Couldn't sleep, she said, shrugging. New place, you know? Hey, can I help you with breakfast? I'm actually a pretty good cook. I smiled. You don't have to do that. You're a guest. I want to, she insisted. Come on, put me to work. So we made breakfast together, scrambling eggs and making toast and brewing coffee. It felt nice, having someone to talk to while I worked. Riley told me about Toronto, about her school, about her friends. She asked me about myself, and I found myself opening up more than I usually did. So, where are you from originally? She asked as she flipped a pancake. Atlanta, I said. I moved here 3 years ago. Do you miss it? Every day, I admitted. But I'm here for my family. My mom and my brother. I send money home to help them. Riley nodded thoughtfully. That's really brave. You're really brave, Naomi. Nobody had ever called me brave before. I didn't feel brave. I felt scared most of the time. We finished making breakfast and set the table in the breakfast nook. Mr. Whitmore came down, looking tired but pleased to see his daughter. Morning, sweetheart. Morning, Naomi. Morning, Dad. We made breakfast together. He smiled. That's wonderful. Thank you both. Mrs. Whitmore didn't come down for breakfast. According to Mr. Whitmore, she was sleeping in. After breakfast, Mr. Whitmore left for work, and Riley went to take a shower. Mrs. Whitmore finally emerged from her bedroom around 11 o'clock, and the first thing she did was call her friends. By noon, 3 women had arrived at the house. They were all like Mrs. Whitmore, blonde, rich, perfectly made up, and carrying designer handbags that cost more than I made in 6 months. They settled in the living room with mimosas and began gossiping loudly. Naomi. Mrs. Whitmore called out. I hurried in from the kitchen. Yes, Mrs. Whitmore. Bring us more drinks. And some of those fancy crackers with the cheese. And be quick about it. Yes, I went back to the kitchen, prepared a tray with drinks and snacks, and brought it back to the living room. As I set the tray down on the coffee table, I could feel all 4 women staring at me. Clarissa, one of them said, a woman with platinum blonde hair and too much Botox. Your maid is very pretty. Are you sure she's not after your husband? The women burst out laughing. I kept my face neutral and started pouring the mimosas carefully. Oh, please, Mrs. Whitmore said, waving her hand dismissively. She wishes. But Marcus knows better than to throw his life away on the help. My hand trembled slightly, but I kept pouring. Another woman, this one with dark hair and blood-red nails, smirked. I don't know, Clarissa. You know what they say about these girls. They're always looking for a come-up. These girls. I knew exactly what she meant. I'd heard it before. People like them always found a way to make everything about race without actually saying the words. Honestly, the first woman continued, I would never hire someone who looks like that. Too risky. My husband can barely control himself as it is. They all laughed again, louder this time. My hands were shaking now. A few drops of champagne spilled onto the table. Look at that, the red-nailed woman said mockingly. She's shaking. Guilty conscience, maybe. Or maybe she knows we're onto her little game, Mrs. Whitmore added, her eyes cold. I quickly finished pouring and excused myself. Will that be all, Mrs. Whitmore? Yes, you can go. But stay close. I might need you again. I practically fled from the living room. I made it to the hallway before the tears started falling. I leaned against the wall, pressing my hand over my mouth to keep from sobbing out loud. These girls. People like that. She's not somebody. I was so tired. So tired of being treated like I was less than human. Naomi. I jumped and looked up. Riley was standing at the top of the stairs, her phone in her hand, her face serious. Riley, I heard everything, she said quietly. She came down the stairs and showed me her phone. And I recorded it. My eyes widened. You did? Yeah, she said, her voice hard. Because what they just did to you was disgusting. And my dad needs to know. Riley, please don't, I begged. It'll just make things worse. Worse than what? Worse than them humiliating you in your own workplace. No, Naomi. This needs to stop. That evening, when Mr. Whitmore came home from work, Riley was waiting for him in his study. I didn't know what she was planning, but I had a feeling things were about to explode. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner when I heard Mr. Whitmore's voice boom through the house. Clarissa. My heart stopped. I'd never heard him sound so angry. I heard heavy footsteps on the stairs, then voices shouting. I couldn't make out the words, but the anger was clear. A few minutes later, Mrs. Whitmore came storming down the stairs with a suitcase in her hand. Her face was red, her eyes were wild, and she was screaming at Mr. Whitmore, who was following her. I'm done, Marcus. I'm done with this marriage. I'm done competing with a maid in my own home. Then leave. Mr. Whitmore shouted back. If you can't show basic human decency, then maybe you should leave. Mrs. Whitmore reached the front door and yanked it open. She turned back one last time. You made your choice, Marcus. Don't come crying to me when you realize what a mistake you've made. Enjoy your life with your precious maid. And with that, she walked out and slammed the door so hard that a picture frame fell off the wall and shattered on the floor. The house fell silent. I stood frozen in the kitchen doorway, not knowing what to do. Mr. Whitmore stood in the empty foyer, his hands clenched into fists, his chest heaving. Riley came down the stairs slowly. Dad, he turned to her, and I saw something break in his expression. I'm sorry you had to see that, sweetheart. It's not your fault, Dad. She was horrible. To you and to Naomi. Mr. Whitmore looked over and saw me standing there. Our eyes met for a long moment. I'm sorry, Naomi, he said quietly. I'm so sorry for everything. I didn't know what to say. So I just nodded. The next few days were strange. Mrs. Whitmore didn't come back. Mr. Whitmore spent most of his time in his study, making calls to his lawyer. Riley stayed by my side, helping me with chores and keeping me company. She was like the little sister I never had. One evening, about a week after Mrs. Whitmore left, Mr. Whitmore called me into his study. Naomi, please sit, he said, gesturing to one of the leather chairs. I sat down nervously, my hands folded in my lap. He leaned back in his chair and sighed. I owe you an explanation. And an apology. Sir, you don't. Please, let me finish. He ran his hand through his hair. Clarissa and I have been having problems for years. She's always been jealous, insecure, controlling. But I thought I could handle it. I thought if I just kept the peace, things would get better. But they never did. I stayed quiet, listening. What she did to you was unforgivable, he continued. Not just taking the money, but the way she spoke to you, the way she treated you. You didn't deserve any of that, Naomi. And I should have stopped it sooner. Mr. Whitmore, it's not your fault. Yes, it is, he said firmly. I saw how she treated you. I heard the comments, the tone in her voice. And I didn't do enough to protect you. That's on me. He reached into his desk drawer and pulled out an envelope. A thick envelope. This is $10,000, he said, sliding it across the desk to me. The $5,000 I originally gave you, plus another $5,000 as compensation for everything you've endured in this house. I stared at the envelope, my eyes wide. Sir, I can't accept this. It's too much. You can, and you will, he said. Consider it a bonus. Or severance pay. My heart dropped. Severance pay. Are you firing me? No, he said quickly. But I'm giving you a choice. You can stay here and continue working for me. I'll double your salary, give you weekends off, whatever you need. Or, if you'd rather leave and start fresh somewhere else, I'll give you excellent references and 6 months' salary as a cushion while you figure out your next move. I sat there, stunned. I don't know what to say. You don't have to decide right now, he said gently. Think about it. Take your time. I nodded slowly, taking the envelope with trembling hands. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the envelope on my dresser. $10,000. Enough to help my mother with her medical bills. Enough to pay for my brother's tuition. Enough to give me options. But what did I want? Did I want to stay in this house, with all its memories of humiliation and pain? Or did I want to leave and start over somewhere new? The next morning, I found Mr. Whitmore in the breakfast nook, reading the newspaper. Riley was still asleep upstairs. Mr. Whitmore, I said softly. He looked up. Naomi, good morning. Have you made a decision? I took a deep breath. I'd like to stay. If that's still okay. He smiled, and it was a genuine smile. Of course it's okay. This is your home too, Naomi. Those words made my eyes fill with tears. Thank you, sir. For everything. No, he said, standing up and placing a hand on my shoulder. Thank you. For your hard work, your patience, and your grace under pressure. You're an extraordinary person, Naomi. Don't ever let anyone make you feel like you're not. 3 months later, Mrs. Whitmore's divorce lawyer reached out with a settlement offer. She wanted half of everything, the house, the cars, the investments. But Mr. Whitmore refused. He had evidence of her cruelty, the video Riley had recorded, and testimony from the household staff about her abusive behavior. In the end, she got a lump sum payment and walked away. She moved to New York and married some hedge fund manager within 6 months. Mr. Whitmore sold the Beverly Hills mansion. Too many bad memories, he said. He bought a beautiful but more modest home in Pasadena, with a guest house that he converted into a proper apartment for me. My own space, with a kitchen and a living room and a bedroom with an actual queen-sized bed. Riley visited every school break, and we became close. She called me her bonus sister. Mr. Whitmore started dating again, eventually meeting a kind woman named Patricia who worked as a teacher. She treated me with respect from day one, asking about my family, my dreams, my life. She saw me as a person, not as the help. As for me, I enrolled in community college and started taking business classes. Mr. Whitmore encouraged me, even offered to pay my tuition, but I used the money he'd given me instead. It felt important to invest in myself. I still worked for Mr. Whitmore, but things were different now. He insisted I call him Marcus when we weren't in formal settings. He gave me weekends off, paid for my health insurance, and treated me like part of the family. One day, about a year after everything happened, I was in the kitchen making dinner when Marcus came in. "Naomi, I have something for you," he said, handing me a folder. I opened it and gasped. It was paperwork for a scholarship program. A full ride to UCLA's business school. "I submitted your name," he said with a proud smile. "Based on your grades and your essay about overcoming adversity. You got in, Naomi. Full scholarship. Room and board included." I stared at the papers, my hands shaking. I got in. To UCLA. "You earned it," Marcus said. "Every bit of it. You've worked hard, maintained a 4.0 GPA while working full-time, and you never gave up. This is your achievement, Naomi." I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. They poured down my cheeks as I hugged the folder to my chest. "Thank you. Thank you so much." "You don't need to thank me," he said. "You did this yourself. I just made sure the right people knew about you." That fall, I started at UCLA. I still worked for Marcus part-time on weekends, but now I was also a full-time student. Business management major. My mother called me every week from Atlanta, crying happy tears. My little brother sent me texts saying I was his hero. It wasn't easy. I studied late into the night, juggled assignments and work schedules, survived on coffee and determination. But I was doing it. I was building a future for myself. During my sophomore year, I started an organization on campus called Invisible No More. It was a support group for domestic workers, housekeepers, and service industry employees who were going to college. We met twice a month, shared our stories, helped each other with applications for scholarships and grants, and reminded each other that we were somebody. That we mattered. Riley came to one of our meetings when she visited from Toronto. She stood up and told everyone about what happened in her father's house, about how she saw me being treated, and how it changed her perspective forever. "Naomi taught me that dignity isn't something you're given," Riley said, her voice strong and clear. "It's something you carry inside yourself. And no one can take it away from you unless you let them." The room erupted in applause. In my junior year, Marcus married Patricia in a small, intimate ceremony. I was invited as a guest, not as staff. I wore a beautiful dress that I bought with my own money from my part-time job at the campus library. Patricia hugged me and thanked me for being such an important part of Marcus and Riley's lives. "Your family," she said simply. And I believed her. 3 years after that terrible day when Clarissa dragged me away from the Mercedes, I graduated from UCLA with honors. My mother and brother flew out from Atlanta for the ceremony. Marcus, Patricia, and Riley were there too, cheering louder than anyone when I walked across that stage. After graduation, I got a job at a non-profit organization that advocated for domestic workers' rights. I started as a program coordinator and worked my way up to director within 2 years. I used my story, my experience, to help create policies that protected people like me. People who cleaned houses, cared for children, and kept homes running while being treated as invisible. I gave talks at conferences. I testified before the California State Legislature. I helped pass a bill that guaranteed minimum wage, overtime pay, and basic dignity protections for domestic workers. And every time I told my story, I made sure to mention one thing. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most teach us the most valuable lessons. Clarissa taught me that my worth wasn't determined by how others treated me. It was determined by how I treated myself. She taught me that dignity couldn't be stolen, only surrendered. And I refused to surrender mine. Marcus taught me that kindness still existed in the world. That there were people who would see you, value you, and lift you up when you needed it most. Riley taught me that allies can come from unexpected places. That young people have the power to speak truth to power. That recording injustice and demanding accountability matters. 5 years after I graduated, I published a book called Somebody, A Maid's Journey from Invisible to Unstoppable. It became a bestseller. I went on a book tour, speaking to audiences across the country about dignity, respect, and the hidden workforce that keeps America running. One evening, I got an email. The subject line simply said, "I'm sorry." It was from Clarissa. I almost deleted it. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. "Naomi, I know this message is years too late. I know nothing I say can undo the harm I caused you. But I want you to know that I've been in therapy for the past 3 years, working through my own issues with insecurity, jealousy, and yes, racism. What I did to you was inexcusable. You were innocent, hardworking, and kind, and I treated you like you were nothing. I'm deeply ashamed of the person I was. I don't expect your forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I see now what I couldn't see then. You were always somebody. You were always worthy of respect. And I'm sorry I was too broken to recognize that. I hope you're living a beautiful life. You deserve it. Clarissa." I read the email 3 times. I felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. No hurt. Just emptiness where those feelings used to be. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. That chapter of my life was closed. But a week later, I donated a portion of my book Proceeds to a mental health organization that specialized in helping people work through toxic behaviors and prejudice. Not for Clarissa. For all the Clarissas out there who hurt people because they're hurting inside. Because I learned something important through all of this. Hurt people. And the cycle only breaks when someone chooses healing over harm. Today, I'm 32 years old. I own my own home in Los Angeles. I run a successful non-profit. I'm working on my 2nd book. My mother's medical bills are paid off. My brother graduated from college and is now a high school teacher. Marcus and Patricia are like my second parents. Riley and I talk on the phone every week. We're planning a trip to Australia together next summer. And sometimes, when I'm driving down Rodeo Drive in my own car, a modest Honda, but it's mine, I think about that day. The day Clarissa dragged me away from Marcus's Mercedes. The day she told me I was nobody. And I smile. Because she was wrong. I was always somebody. I just needed to believe it myself. The moral of this story. Your worth is not determined by how others treat you. It's determined by how you see yourself. No matter how people try to diminish you, humiliate you, or make you feel invisible, remember this: you are somebody. Your dignity cannot be taken from you, only surrendered. Stand firm in your worth, work hard toward your dreams, and never let anyone make you believe you are less than you are. Kindness matters. Standing up for what's right matters. And sometimes, the worst moments in our lives become the catalyst for our greatest transformations. To everyone watching this story, especially those of you who work in service industries, who feel invisible, who've been treated as less than, you are seen. You matter. And your story isn't over yet. Thank you so much for watching this story. If it touched your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Drop a comment telling me what lesson you took away from Naomi's story. Also hit that subscribe button to be a part of this family to enjoy more beautiful stories like this. And remember, no matter what you're going through right now, keep going. Your breakthrough is coming. Until next time, stay blessed, stay strong, and never forget, you are somebody.